I will lift up my voice and sing, whatever may befall me. I will still follow the light which kindles song. I will listen to the music, arising out of grief and joy alike. I will not deny my voice to the song, for in the depth of winter, song, like a bud peeping through the dry crust of earth, brings back memory and creates anew the hope and anticipation of spring. Out of a world that seems barren of hope, sing decries beauty in the shapes of leafless trees, lifts our eyes to the distant mountain peaks which, even if we see them not, remind us that they are there, waiting, and still calling to us to come up higher. Out of the destruction of dear hopes, out of the agony of heartbreak, song rises once more to whisper to us that even this is but the stage setting for a new beginning, and that we shall yet take the pieces of our hearts and put them together in a pattern of deeper, truer lights and shades. I will lift up my voice in song, for in singing I myself am renewed, and the darkness of night is touched by the promise of a new dawn, for light shall come again.
After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descending from heaven, his appearance was like lightning, and his clothing as white as snow. He came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly, with great fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly, Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." From the book of Matthew, chapter 28, verses 1 through 10, New Standard Revised Version. Unitarian Universalism, on the whole, wrestles with our Christian identity each year on Easter. Even though our faith tradition specifically cites Jewish and Christian teachings as sources from which we draw wisdom, and even though a large number of Unitarian Universalists identify as Christian, we seem to face a bit of an identity crisis come Easter. What do we do with the story of a literal resurrection? We believe. Christ's resurrection is one of the most sacred stories in Christianity. While the story of his crucifixion highlights the ultimate sacrifice, loving humanity enough to die for us, the story of his resurrection brings us a faith in renewal. Imagine being either of the Marys that morning. These women were in mourning. They lost not just a man they loved, but a teacher they were dedicated to and a prophet in whom they believed. Their shared grief must have permeated from them, rising from their skin like an unwanted perfume. They were going to anoint his body, the body of Jesus, whom they believed to be a mortal man, a son of God, yes, but mortal. Intending to his broken body, they knew they'd face the wounds of his death and the reality of their loss. I can imagine the hopelessness that they must have felt. Jesus taught love and compassion, yet an act of betrayal ended him. Do you remember the first time you felt true hopelessness? A moment when maybe it seemed like everything you wanted to be true and real and right was ripped away. Mine was sitting in a doctor's office. I had wanted to be a mom since I was old enough to realize that I could be. I had dreamed of all the things when I grew up. The careers were constantly changing. I wanted to be a doctor one day. I wanted to be an astronaut the next. I even wanted to be Mother Teresa there for a while. But being a mom never changed for me. That was the one thing that has been consistent since my childhood. But here was this doctor, this very nice, very patient doctor, telling me there was absolutely no chance I'd ever carry a baby to term. Between her diagnosis and my 7 miscarriages, I had to face the reality of my loss. And that hopelessness suffocated me. People of color across the nation, millions of POC, faced another round of hopelessness on March 18th when Sacramento police officers shot and killed Stephon Clark. They shot him 8 times, 6 of them in the back. Stephon was unarmed and in his grandmother's backyard. Hopelessness. Indigenous people of Utah and other communities scattered across Utah squared off with hopelessness after the Bears Ear National Monument was gutted, despite our best efforts to save it. You felt it. And I'm as sure as I can be that Mary Magdalene and Mary, Mother of James, felt it that morning in every step they took. And then there was this angel, lightning and white and spilling words of emergence, words of resurrection. He is not here, for he has been raised. Words of hope. They fled the tomb quickly with fear and great joy. And that is what is coming out of the darkness feels like, isn't it? It isn't sure-footed, it isn't steady, it isn't the pace that we all know we can keep going with. There is no certainty. Instead, it's this mixture of worry and hope, of questions and vague answers. Is this real? Will this last? I hope it will. I hope it's real. Another important piece of this story is that Christ met his disciples in Galilee. Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20, New Standard Revised Version. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded to you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of age." Jesus brought his people back together. It was not enough to offer them hope with just the resurrection. He gathered them, affirmed their hope, then sent them out to share his faith of love and compassion. He promised to be with them. Because it takes a village, right? And that's why we're here. This is why we gather on Sundays in this sanctuary. It is why we gather at protests and rallies or family dinners or even coffee shops. We are meeting each other in our Galilees, and we are making disciples of all of our nations. We are sharing our words of love and shining a light into the darkness of hopelessness and despair. We're building villages with each other. Imagine that sense of wonder and renewal Christ's people must have felt. Awestruck, renewed, transformed by the love of another. We're doing that all the time. We're doing that at every Black Lives Matter meeting, at every Indivisible Utah meeting, every Sunday service, and even, I swear to you, at committee meetings and board meetings. I have felt this, and I know you do too. Friends in this congregation with whom Sharon and Neil makes me feel like a disciple of Christ. I am awestruck, I am renewed, I am transformed by their love. And I believe in humanity more and more after spending time with them. This is what the story of Christ's resurrection offers us. Hope. Hate and betrayal do not and will not prevail, says the resurrection. Hope will be restored, lives will be restored. We will emerge from the darkest of absolutes to exist in the glory of love. And I think this is why the resurrection is one of the most important stories in the Christian tradition. I think this is why Unitarian Universalists celebrate Easter joyfully, even if it gives us some kind of collective identity crisis. And this is why the answer to what will we do with the literal resurrection is to believe. Believe in hope. Believe nothing is absolute, even absolutes. Believe in Galilee and believe that we are disciples of our love for humanity. I'll leave you today with two quotes. The first is from Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Bob McDicken from an Easter sermon he gave at the UU Church in Catawba Valley. Did a dead man with nail holes in his feet and hands and a spear whip in his side actually get up and walk out of the grave? I don't know, but I don't really think so. More to the point, I don't have to know in order to believe in the miracle of the resurrection. Sometimes we UUs are so concerned about the facts that we totally miss the truth. The story of Easter is a hero story, illustrating that death does not have the final victory, that we are not all destined to vanish when we die. It is the story of restoration and renewal that says no matter how bad things get, we do not have to live with the assumption that evil and death will triumph. The second is from Jesus Christ as recorded in Matthew chapter 28, verse 10. Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me.